Hi, I just wanted to do a quick tutorial on why some objects are not rendering in Blender. I've got this kind of landscape scene set up here. It's just something I'm mucking around with at the moment. And I noticed that when I did the render of this, that these hills here in the midground are not rendering. So if I just demonstrate that, I'll go ahead and do a render. And as you can see, the hills are missing. So these kind of green trees here, light green trees, are just kind of floating in the air. The hills are missing, and you've just got the HDRI background. So why is that? I had a look around on the internet, and most advice and forums are to say, well, make sure that you've got the camera icon here, which is the render icon, enabled. As you can see there, it says disable in renders. And if that icon is kind of hollow with a cross in the middle, then that means that that object is disabled in the render. Well, as you can see, my landscape is actually enabled. So why isn't it rendering? And I had a poke around, and I found out that when I was adding the particle system to this mid-ground hillscape here to add the trees, what I must have done, so I've got the object selected, the mid-ground hills is just called landscape.003 at the moment. So if I go into the particle system, and if I go down to render, the render settings, I must have accidentally unchecked this show emitter button. In this case, the emitter is the landscape itself. So by disabling this show emitter, then whatever the particle system is emitting from, so in other words, the trees, they're my particles in this case, um, the emitter is being hidden in the render. So I need to make sure this is checked. So if I go in and check this and then do another render, then you can see the hillscape in the midground is now being rendered. Before I close this video, there's just one other thing I'd like to point out. I've actually got a displacement modifier applied to the ground here, the foreground, this kind of grass texture. This is just kind of a flat area at the moment. So when I go in and let me just have a look at this. So here I've got yeah, here I've got this displacement modifier. I've got the render button turned off. So just to illustrate this, just let me dial in a bit more displacement. There we go. And then if we go for a render of that, then we'll see that 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 displacement isn't being applied to the render because I've got the camera icon turned off. As you can see, this is still quite flat. So if I go in and enable the render camera and do another render, then we can see the result. So yeah, just one other thing to watch out for there. If you've got any modifiers applied to objects and they're not rendering out, then just take a look at the render camera here and make sure it's checked. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it useful.